Good evening, family. How you doing? This is Solomon speaking. It's such a privilege to teach you guys how to do graphic design. And as you can see right here, this is one of the flyers that I designed for the North region of the London Church. And it's created a big buzz around Europe, actually. Most of the churches and all of our regions pretty much have imitated this design. So what I'm going to do is teach you how to do it. And it's going to mainly compile of two segments. One, show you how what tools I've been using for years in doing it in Photoshop, and also just how to design the flyer itself. So it will be a combination of both happening at the same time and separately too. So yes, without further ado, let's open up Photoshop, which is this icon right here, and this is the working file that I've done. So what we will do is start off by going to File up here and going to New right here. And before you open up any files, it gives you an option here. So these are the main three things you want to focus on. So I designed the flyer as a square image. You can also use some of the made files I've done already. So Insta Portrait, I've kind of already saved the file here, but that's something I'll discuss another time. But for the meantime, I'm going to use the custom one, which I forgot to name it, but it's 1000 by 1000. That's the measurements here. So 1000 by 1000 pixels, and I always put as 300 resolution DPI. That's the highest quality that you're going to get in your design work. So yes, this is the correct settings that you want to use. So this is just a Instagram format, standard size. So once that's done, we're going to go to create, and voila, this is a blank canvas right here. So I'll explain to you briefly what this workspace is about. So on your left here, you've got all these amazing tools that you can use. Photoshop is so powerful. Remember, this software is about photo manipulation, photo design, and just whatever you see online on fashion magazines and everything like that is all done by the power of Photoshop. So Photoshop is very, very incredible once you know how to use it, and it's increased over time. So I'll walk through with you all the tools that I've been using here. So this is like the move tool, and this is the lasso tool. So as I'll explain whilst designing, I'll be showing you what tools to use and what it's all about. And on the right here, this is what you're going to be using as well. This is the layer system. So it just starts with the background, and then if you want to create a new layer, there's this plus button here, and you see this icon comes up. You can even watch a video if you want, but we could just press this icon here, and then you've got a new layer that's made, and you can click on it once, no, click on it twice actually, double click on it, and then you can even name it, say new layer. uh I know there's times when I just don't name it because I'm just in a rush of designing, but let's just say, image, just for the meantime. But you can name it, no problem at all. So like I said earlier on, I'm going to show you how to design this. And what we will do is look at, again, what kind of photos I use. So there's a lot of pictures that I've had to grasp from the cyber team. So you want to make sure that you have good connections to the cyber accounts, because I know the cyber team either use Google Drive or Dropbox. So depending on who you're going to be liaising with, is always to ensure that you have the right files in hand. Good quality photos too. So we are going to begin with the background first. So I'm going to go into the folder and take a look. Oh, so yes, we are going to just grab a random worship photo. So you should be able to save all the files that you need from Google Drive or wherever the cyber team have put their photos, and then you could just save it onto your desktop. Choose the folder where you've saved it, you find the file, and you could just simply drag it over here. I know there's an old photo, but it's just for the purposes of this. You could do this with any other photo, so it's fine. So what I'm gonna do is, what I'm doing right here, I'm sizing it up and I'm actually holding the shift button on your keyboard. So you can still move it around, but to make it smaller or shorter, you hold the shift button and you size it. And that way it keeps its pixelation. So you have to hold the shift button and then click and then move it up and down. Because if I let go of the shift button, you see what happens? It starts to stretch and you don't want to do that. So you want to hold the shift button. Okay, so once you reach the capacity that you want it to go to, this should be fine. So to exit out, you just press the move button and then it's pretty much back to normal mode. And you can see right here, it's created a new layer. Okay, so we'll worry about this square box later on. So again, we're going to imitate this flyer and you can see in the background, I made it blurred. So we're going to do the same thing with this one. So what I'm going to do is, because this is in a different format, I'm just going to right click and rasterize layer. I'm going to rasterize the layer so it's more editable. So I don't want to create this layer just in case I make mistakes. So what I'm going to do is make a new layer, but I'm going to duplicate it. So I can hold it while after I've clicked it, and then I'm going to go to the plus layer button, and there you go. It duplicates the layer for me. And then these are what you call the eyes. So you can switch it on and switch it off. So if I switch this on, of course, this layer is on top, so I can still see this one. If I switch that off, I can see this layer here. So I'm going to hide this one and I'm going to edit this one. So again, we want to create the same effect as this. So we're going to do it in two steps. First, I'm going to make it blurry. So in order to do that, I'm going to go to Window up here. No, it will be Filter. Apologies. It will be Filter, and we're going to scroll down. So Filter has a lot of good options in order to add some effects to your photo. So we're going to go to Blur. You can either choose Blur or Blur Gallery, but I tend to use Blur. So I am going to go to Gaussian blur. You can either use blocks or box or Gaussian blur. So we'll just click on Gaussian blur here, and you can see here already it's changed. So I can either increase the strength of it, and it becomes like that, which is horrible. We don't want that. So you want to just lower it down to a point where it becomes pretty much like this. Okay. So we want to give it just a basic understanding that it's a worship service. So we just want to click OK after that. And okay, back to color, which is good. So after that is done, that's the first step that we've taken so far. And now we are going to add the green effect. So we can see here, it kind of started off dark green at the bottom here, and then it goes to light green. So in order to do that, we're going to create a new layer like this, and we've got a new layer right here. And you can just name it gradient if you want. That's it. And this is where we're going to change the tools on this side. Now there's an option here called the paint bucket, but you're gonna see these smaller arrows here, which gives you more options about what kind of paint tools that you can use. So you can see right here there's a gradient tool. So I'm going to click that, and in order to create the gradient, you could just hold the button from the bottom here and you can just scroll all the way up. But as you can see, it's just black. So, but the great thing is you can change the direction from the bottom as well. So you can see right here, I just click this bottom part here. You can also edit from this top here too, which is pretty cool. You can even hold the shift button as well to make sure that it's straight rather than doing it this way. Otherwise, you can continue to do this if you want more of a creative control. But to have things unified, you want to just hold the shift button again and it can go like this. So we'll just keep like that for now. Okay. So I was just thinking, okay, cool. This is quite okay so far, but we're still missing a green um lighting. So what I want to do again is go to this layer here and I want to create a new layer. So again, as you use Photoshop over time, layers are going to become your best friend. It really is. It just lays out the order of things. So what I'm going to do is lay out, I'm going to choose the bucket this time, not the gradient, but I'm going to choose the bucket tool this time. And to change the colors, of course, if you put white, it's going to turn out white, blank, right? We don't want that. So if you make a mistake, you can either go to edit and go to undo paint bucket, or you could do a shortcut by pressing Control plus Z. So I'm just going to go to that and it goes back to this as normal, which is pretty cool. Now I want to change the colors. Now the color swatches are right here. So you want to click on this color here and then go to, you can play around with this. Or there may be times when you're working with a particular branding person, they're gonna give you a color swatch code and you can input that here as well to get the exact color that you need. So again, this could be Dom or Andrew or whoever that may want very specific colors used to keep the branding consistent. But for now, let's just use the dark green effect that we was after. So that should be fine. Okay, maybe a little bit more lighter. Let me press OK. And then we got the colors here. Green, paint bucket is ready to go. So all you got to do is just simply click on the screen and you'll be like, what the heck is going on? But don't worry, we're going to learn some cool effects about this. So we got two options. We could either go to the opacity option here and it will lower the opacity for us like this. Or you can also go to normal, this option here, where it actually gives you, it's called the blending options. So you want to go to here and it helps you to choose from blending options. So multiply seems pretty good. That's a good option. But you can continue to scroll down and look around. There's a few that's ugly. Uh, not definitely not this one. I tend to use either multiply or overlay. Overlay is very good for like lighting uh options. I tend to use multiply when it's like dealing with more darker colors. So I'm just going to click on this one. So now this is sorted, we are going to start moving on to the images. So let's look at the referencing here again. We are now going to begin doing these photos. We'll worry about the text and everything later on. So I will show you how to do this. It's a bit technical, but I'll try and make it as simple as possible. So we're going to start editing each and every one of these. Once I do one, it'll be easy for you to do the rest. So let's begin. So first, I already have some of my photos ready. So I'm going to go into the folder right here and we're going to choose, let's choose this one. This is our dear sister who got baptized. So again, I just dragged it onto the workspace. And for me to come out of this, I'll worry about the sizing later on. I'm just going to click any of these tools here to come out of it. And it's just back to normal. I don't need to size it. So I'm just going to right click here and make sure that it's editable. So we need to crop this image out to get a close-up version, just like we got here, right? So what we're going to do is I'm going to use a tool called the marquee tool. So this is a grid kind of outline that you can control. If you left click and hold, you can control how big or small you want to select the area. So again, you can hold shift to have it completely square or just let it go and just play around with it. So again, you can always restart it again just by clicking out of it and redoing it again. So in this case, I'm just going to do it around here. That should be fine. So now that we've got this area selected, what I'm going to do now is right click on the mouse, and I am going to go to layer via cut. Once I've done that, you see what happened right here. So the image that I selected cut out from the main image. So you see here, it created a new layer for me to extract this part out of the main one. So we won't need this excess anymore. So to delete layers, you can select it here and press the delete button on your keyboard, or you could just simply drag it and go to the bin icon here, whichever way you decide. So I'm just going to press the delete button, and you always got to make sure that whatever layer that you work on, you have to choose it on here. Select it, otherwise you're going to be editing the green area. So make sure you're on the right layer all the time. And again, feel free to name them. But for the sake of this video, I'm just going to speed it up. Well, I'll just do it here. So I'll just put Danny. And that's that. Cool. So we've got Danny here. So the next step now would be to add the square behind it. So what we're going to do now is add another new layer. But because it's going to be behind Danny, I'm going to pull it underneath Danny here. Again, it's all a layering system. And I'm going to use the marquee tool again. So I'll briefly just do it about this size. And then I am going to use the paint bucket tool here. Make sure that the paint bucket is selected, or gradient. And once that's done, I can play with the color swatches here. So I'm going to click on this and choose what color was it? Yes, blue. So we'll go with that. I think it was a lighter blue. Great. And then once that's done, you can just click on it and it turns blue. So if you want to get rid of this grid in general, you want to go up here, select, and choose deselect. And that goes. So that's great. So we're going to use a move tool now, and we're going to shift Danny over. So it should be there in the middle. So we're just going to zoom in a little bit and now start focusing on the details. So a great way to know that you're going to be editing on a blue square accurately, you want to start now thinking about, okay, how's this going to fit on properly? So whilst I'm selecting Danny, do you remember this opacity tool here? I'm just going to go in this and lower the opacity just to see. And if you look closely, you can see like there's like these little, Danny's image goes over the blue square itself. But again, it's not to worry. That's why it's good to just check and see. But we're going to use a eraser to get rid of that. So don't worry too much about it for now. This is pretty much good for now. So we're just going to pull it back up. Now we're going to crop this image out. And the tool we're going to use is the polygonal lasso tool. Now, if you hold it, you've got three options here. Either the lasso tool, which is more freehand and it's more like a pencil, you have more of a creative control, whilst the polygonal tool is more straight lines. I prefer this tool because it just helps the image to be straightened out more and it lessens the pixelation. So we're just going to zoom in a little bit more and we're going to start here. So you just click on the left button on the mouse and then you see the lines here. This just adds more accuracy when you're cropping the image out. Then you click on it and you keep going. You click it again to mark the points and you keep going. I like to, if you look closely, go slightly inward on the image so it doesn't form any excess outlines, white outlines on the image. So you will notice as you go over time. So I'm just quickly going to go over this. now that we reached the end of it, we keep this space here as well, crop that all out. So you have to go all the way around until you reach back to the beginning of where you started. And once you hover over it, you're going to see like a circle. The icon changes and it shows confirmation that you can join it up now. So I'm just going to click that and look at that. It selects everything. So I'm going to zoom out so you can see. Now I'm going to do the same process again. I'm going to right click on the mouse, right click, and you could do layer via cut. So it's going to start a new layer again. So we won't need this XX background, you see? Look at that. So we can just get rid of this now. So I may have to rename this layer again, Danny. So you know that's there. Cool. So far so good. Now, the next step now is to figure out, okay, how are we going to make this black and white? So what we're then going to do is look at the bottom chart here. You see this icon that looks like a moon? We're going to click on this and a list comes up and we see the option called black and white. So we're going to select that. By the way, Photoshop has many methods. This is just my method. It could be a long way, but if you do find an easier route, you can always go on YouTube and study out other designers as well. But yeah, this is just how I personally do. It's just something I'm comfortable with. So yeah, there's many different methods otherwise. So yeah, for the sake of this video, I'll just show you how I do it. So we're going to choose black and white. And as you can see, I chose black and white, but it went on the entire image. Don't worry too much about that for now, because we are going to merge everything. So we'll just hide this for now. We're going to click these two arrows to hide it. So we got now a new layer called black and white. So, but the only thing is we need to just do it on Danny. So what we're going to do is, you see how you just click one layer at a time? If we hold control, this one has already been selected. If you want to select multiple layers, you just hold control and you click, right? But we just want to get Danny to be merged with black and white. So we're just gonna hold this. Both layers are selected. Right click, and we are gonna go to merge layers. And voila, we got this right here. So now that's done. The next step now is, okay, let's see if we can get the lighting a bit more on point. Her face is a bit more bright here, whilst here is a bit more dull. So again, we're gonna go to this option here, and we are going to select curves. I tend to use this a lot of times. You can use exposure too, but let's use curves. And you just see a contrast curve where you can just start in the middle and it creates like a point after you click it. Then you can go up and you can go down. And then you can add multiple points on here to balance it out more. Maybe just go down here. So you just want to experiment and make sure that it's not too strong and not too high. So, okay, this one would be cool. Like that. I say keep this along here. So you want to get to a point where you're pretty much happy with it. Again, don't worry if it's affecting everywhere else because you're going to merge it again anyway. So just the two arrows out, you close it out. Again, it's created the layer again. You want to merge it with Danny so it doesn't affect the entire image. Control, two layers, right click, merge. So now we got a pretty much same image, which is the same. So it's good. Now we want to then add one more effect on this. If you look at the bottom here, the way I designed it, I wanted to um, add like a fade away so that it gives the text more volume. So I had to use an eraser to rub it out, and I did it very softly. And I'll show you how to do that. This is the final stage of dealing with these images. So the way to do that, once I'm happy and confirmed with both the blue background and the image itself, in case you don't want to make any mistakes, I just, right, I press the control button and I've chose two layers I'm going to drag both of them and go to duplicate. So it's duplicate the same layers so that, you know, I can save these files later if I have to go back to it if I make a mistake on these. So now that I'm happy, I'm going to merge both layers. They're already selected. I want to merge both layers, and voila, it's both merged. So now I'm able to use the eraser. The eraser now is going to be on this section here, right here, called the eraser tool. Again, you got several options here, but I always use the eraser tool a lot of the time, so don't worry too much about that. And again, if you look at the icon or where I'm using a mouse, it's got 4 lines. So if you want to look at the tool and what it actually looks like, you just press the caps lock and it changes. So it's pretty useful. And another way to know as well to change the size is on your keyboard, you can press the brackets. So brackets would make it bigger and brackets will make it smaller. So you can control the size from your keyboard. So in this case, we're going to zoom out a little bit from here, scroll down, and make sure that the eraser is quite big enough. Now, I'm going to start using an eraser and I'm ready, but look what happens. Too sharp. So if I make a mistake, I'm just going to go to edit, undo eraser, back to normal. So how do we try and get the same effect as here? Well, on top here, you have 2 options. You've got the opacity and you've got the flow. So I'm going to lower the opacity of the eraser probably to about, say, 15% and flow here too. So that way, when you're just in a lot more control. And as you see, I'm doing it multiple times, it's fading away. So you want to do it to a point where you're pretty much satisfied. And make sure that this one fully disappears and it just has that blend effect. Again, this is a long method that I prefer to do personally. If you find any other methods that are quicker, you can always look at other different sources on YouTube. So yeah, this is great. I prefer this method because I'm more in control. It's just that if I make a mistake, I'll have to kind of start the whole thing again because Photoshop would only allow you to undo the button so many times. I'm sure there's an option in File where you can choose it to be unlimited. That's fine, but I like to have freedom control. So yeah, so this is pretty much sorted now. And you got that. And as you can see on original source, I did like 5 of them. So it's pretty cool. You could do the same process with the other photos. And once you've done that, for the sake of this video, I'm not going to do every single one, but you could apply the same method for the rest. So I'll leave that with you. So yes, after you've done your images, this is what it looks like now. So I did the same pattern for the rest and I've kind of just positioned everyone nicely. So yeah. Okay, now we're going to start moving on to the text. So the way graphic design works, you want to make sure that the visual hierarchy is very important. So you've got the logo up here, which represents the organization or the company or the business or whichever it is. For us, it's God's Kingdom, the London International Christian Church. So I've put the logo up here so that people would know, okay, who's it established by. And you want to know what the service is about. So it's the name, the North region of the London Church, and what kind of service it's going to be. So it's another title that correlates with it. So the Sunday Park service, and yes, the main title has to be the biggest title. And when does it start? Again, you want to guide the user. So visual hierarchy, information hierarchy is very important. It's not just a simple design, it's just how you layer it out too. You can see right here, I've given enough breathing space per one. So the logo's not too close to this and the title's not too close to this. And the reason why I've done the opacity here is to give the text a bit of breathing space between one another. There's a special relationship. Everything you do here is with intentionality. If you look at Exodus, God commanded the Israelites to design a breastpiece, and the way God designed the stones spaced out from one another on the breastpiece was extremely important, and it was to give the neighboring nations. Again, for the sake of the video, I don't want to preach too much, but yes, everything needs to be done with intention. So yes, and you see right here, the address is at the bottom too. It's the smallest of text, but at the same time, it's still catchy because I add little things like the yellow address icon here. Everything is pretty subtle and obvious, but it's all about visual communication. So not long left. Let's begin. So we're gonna start off with the logo. If I just quickly look for it. I've got so many all over the place. Go to LICC logo. That's the one right here. So that's the one I'm going to use, and we're just again going to simply drag it over, and that's it right here. Logos like this is designed in Illustrator. You can design it in Photoshop, but to get more of a high res, you want to design it in Illustrator. So I'm just going to again hold the shift button, change the size, and just move it till about in the middle here, and we're good to go. I don't know if you've noticed, but when I move, okay, let's go back. When I move the icon, do you see the pink lines? These are called snapping guidelines, which is very useful in Photoshop, especially when you're designing. So once I've done this, I'm going to click this out. And let's talk a little bit more about the guidelines. Now, guidelines help you to keep everything unified and formed. So in order to get those up, you see these rulers on the side here, on the left and at the top here. I am going to left click and drag, and you see how the icon changes and you see the line coming up. Now I'm going to put this in the middle, and again, Photoshop clicks it in the middle automatically for me. So this is bang on in the middle. Okay. So again, with all your design work, you want to make sure everything is unified, right? And you could do the same thing up here as well to make sure that the text is up here and here and here. But for this sake, I'm just going to just use 2 guidelines. But feel free to keep adding more. If you ever want to get rid of them, you just go to previous window. We'll talk about that later on. Yes, it's to select view. I apologize. You go to view, and when you go to view, it would be it's usually this icon here where you press the clear slices, but it's okay. Okay, so now that we've got our guidelines in place, we are now going to begin adding the text. So just like here, we've got a big text here called North Region. So again, when you're selecting different fonts, it's got different names, of course. So we're going to go out, and to select the text, we're going to go to this letter T here. So we press that, and we just click in the middle and start texting. So I'm going to put the caps on the keyboard and I'm going to type in North Region. Cool. Now, you can see right here it's still in edit text mode. Now, in order for me to make it bigger, I'm going to select the whole thing. I just double click and select everything, or you can drag and select, whichever you choose. And you see these options up here. Now, the first option here is the kind of text, the name of the text. You've got a bunch here. I download some online, and since I'm a paid Adobe user, I can get some for free too. So it's great. And the text, the name of the font that we use in the church is Spartan. That's it. I went blank for a minute. Apologies. And Spartan, we just use the thick one here. And you can always, and when you, after you've made a choice here, then you can add as well what kind of um, thickness you want it to be. So we can hold it, select the whole thing, and then we can make it extra thin or just keep it black. That's just the name of it. So it doesn't actually mean that it's black. It just talks about the thickness of it. So it is quite small. So what we're going to do is enlarge it. And this is where this option comes in. So already you can either choose from the list here, or you can manually scroll left to right and it does it for you. Left or right. And you select out of that. And once you're pretty much good to go, you can scroll down on here. And yeah, it's good. Another thing to know as well, which is useful, is these here too. These are the position guidelines. So if you choose left, it's going to be left of the guideline here. Middle, be bang on the middle. Left, bang on the left here as well. So you just want to keep it in the middle for now. But also, whilst this is still highlighted, it was the color blue. I'm going to change it to white. So I'm going to go to the color swatch here, choose white, bang on. And we've got North Region right there. You're going to move this slightly just to give it a bit more space. Or you could just choose the arrows on the keyboard to just, tuck in just the tiny little details. So we've got that part there. We're going to go back to the original flyer. Still a few more things to do. And, we've got park service, starts at 10 a.m. and Regis Park. So they're pretty much all like the same font style. So to save time, what I tend to do is I'm going to select the North Region, because when you use text layers, it already names it here for you. I'm just going to drag it over, duplicate, and then I'm going to drag the file down here with a layer. I'm going to go back and it's called Park Service. But of course, the difference is this is much bigger and thicker. So you want to make it smaller, about this size, and change it to about bold. I think it's a bit more thicker than that. Extra bold. There you go. I'm going to do the same thing again with the start time, but I'm going to change the thickness of the layer, and I think it was a medium. Say starts at 10 a.m. and I believe this was smaller too. And then we just click any icon to select out of it, just to double check. Oh, it's a bit more thicker, but yeah, we can edit that again. That's no problem. And then we're going to talk about the address. And again, because I've changed it to a lowercase, let's just put in Regis Park. Regis Park, London, NW2. Keep it that way, keep it simple. So yeah, that's how much you quickly do it. You can just adjust it and then we go to undo. That was pretty much okay. So we just go back up here, adjust it slightly, choose each layer to do it. Okay, nope, that's not the one. You go up here. Now you want to do this handwriting here. It's the same process really. So again, you can choose the text button here again, or you can duplicate the letters, entirely up to you because you can always edit the text anyway. So you just select that, just type in Sunday, and then the font style that I used, I think it was Alfresco. Let's make it bigger. So whichever region you're representing, you want to make sure that you choose a nice, correct one. Again, it doesn't have to be exactly the same, but for the sake of this video, just showing you how to do it. And I've just selected the whole thing, and I'm going to choose yellow. Look at that. Amazing. Not every text family will have the same options. It all depends on what kind of font that you download. It may not have all the options like it does on Spartan. So this one has only the bold and the thin one. Of course, you can feel free to keep looking around. Well, nah, we don't want that. That's ugly. So again, graphic design is all about testing and experimenting. I think it's Beloved Spirit. No, it's not that one either. That's not bad, but let's stick with this one for now. Okay, we are almost done. So we're just gonna add a little bit more detail. So again, we're gonna shorten this a bit more, and we're gonna start adding little things like the patterns and this address icon here. I like to add little symbols to illustrate um, some of the texts basically, just to bring them out a little bit. So little small texts like this, I like to add a little something there just to keep the viewer engaged as they're reading the flyer. So I'll show you how to do that. It's pretty straightforward. I already have a folder where I save icons. This is something that I designed in Illustrator. So again, if you are in need for these kind of icons, do let me know and I can send them to you. So as the case, I'm just going to select this called the address pin and I'm going to drag it over. And as you can see, as usual, if you look on the right side, it always creates a new layer. So I'm just going to hold shift and make it very small and move it about here. And I'm going to use the arrows on the keyboard to adjust it. But as you can see, it's gold. Now, we don't want that. What we are going to do is, again, this square button here, I'm just going to right click, rasterize layer so I can edit it. Now, to change this color, we can't just simply choose the swatch section for this because this is an image. This is an image that wasn't designed by Photoshop itself. It's just a picture, it's a image without a background. So we have to use another method to change the color. We can technically use the paint bucket and paint over it, but the problem is it gets very pixelated. And we don't want to do that. It just makes it ugly. So you can see all the squares forming around it like it's Pac-Man. We don't want that. We want to just keep the resolution in good quality. So I'm just going to undo bucket and it's pretty much gone back to normal. So what we're going to do then is we're going to double click, or you can right click, and we need to find blending options. This is what we need, right? So again, we can right click or you can double click and the option comes up. So we need some blending options. We got some here, which are different options that you can choose from. Now I'm going to choose color overlay. I'm just going to check the button, but I can also click on it as well to edit it a bit more. So currently, as you can see, it's on yellow, which is pretty cool, right? It's the same yellow as the text, which is already done. So if I wanted to, I could experiment and change it with blue. But if you want to get the exact color, what's useful is with Photoshop, and it only works in Photoshop, is if you hover out of it, do you see how my mouse changes? It turns into like a eyedropper. That's the name of the tool, an eyedropper. And I can, Photoshop can depict the exact color. So if I click on this, yellow comes up. If I click on white, the text, it changes. And the same thing here, anywhere else. So blue is fine, or we could just choose yellow. But I think I'll choose blue since I want to keep the colors unified. And yeah, but you can just experiment and see what's good. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to press OK. Everything else is good. Again, you can change the opacity here, which is cool. But let's just keep it at 100. Then you go to OK and look at that. You've got a sub options here. You can always go back to edit it, which is cool. We're pretty much almost there. Now you can still add patterns if you want, just like here. And yeah, the way I did this grid was pretty easy. So I'm going to add a layer and I'm just gonna call it grid pattern 1. Okay. Now you want to try keep Photoshop, all your layers in Photoshop as tidy as possible. Now I've done 3 patterns here. So in order to avoid a bit more confusion, what I'm going to do to kind of tidy up everything on this side, there's a folder here called create new group. It's also known as a group. So I'm going to click on that and it creates a group. So that way you can put all your layers into certain folders so you know which one's what. So I'm going to call this patterns, right? And then I'm going to drag whatever layers are necessary into it, and voila. You can see how it changes. You can see that the layer moved this way to show that it's underneath this. So it should add more structure. And with that, I'm just gonna start adding in, I want to start creating the pattern now. So quickest way for me to do this is I'm gonna use a paintbrush, okay? But you can see here I've already chose, if you look at the cursor, it's all these dots and everything I was doing a different project. But in order to change the brush, I'm just going to go up here and scroll all the way to the top. Just use hard round. That's the standard I use. And just make sure this is all at 100%. Then I'm going to use the left and right brackets on the keyboard to change the sizes. And what I'm going to do is just add this. Now the way I did that was I held the shift button and I clicked the left button on my mouse and I just dragged it around. So go to undo. Then I'm just gonna click on the mouse again, hold the shift button, and hold it like this. It's a little bit of a mistake there, so you can always go to undo and start again. So you click first, hold still, and then hold across. And you could do the same thing as a checkered, like this, like this, like that, until you're pretty much happy. And then, yeah, may take a bit of time, but feel free to just experiment with as much as you want, and we're good. So yep, as you can see here, I've done the grid pattern. Now, it looks cool. I'm just gonna slide in the corner here. But if I wanted to just, I don't know, make it like diagonal, like these ones up here, I'm just going to simply go to edit and I'm going to go to 3 transformation, and then it selects the whole box. And as you go just outside of it, it has like an arrow button where you can rotate it to however you want. Or if you want it to be sharp on rotating, you hold the shift button and it does this for you. If not, you can have more freedom control. Let go of the shift button and you control exactly how you want it. So I'm just going to just do it like this, keep it simple. Drag in the corner here and done. And I'm going to do the same thing on this corner here. So to save time, I'm just going to duplicate the layer. It's on this. I'm just going to drag it over, up here, done. And I want to create this final bit here, which is like a circle. So I'm going to go to the marquee tool. You've got the square option and you've got the elliptical option, which is the circle. So I'm going to select that. And again, same thing. If you don't hold the shift button, this is what happens. If you want a perfect circle, you need to hold the shift button. Now, what I'm going to do now is I just formed a circle, and to get that ring effect here, I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to, oh my gosh, again, it's always good to create a new layer first. Otherwise, I'm going to be editing on the same thing. Just create a new layer, circle, and then I'm going to right click and go to stroke. Now, when you edit, it's not going to show you what you're going to do on here. So you just kind of have to almost play a guessing game. And if you're not too sure, you can always go to undo. So I'm just going to place it as 15 or maybe 12 for now. And it's on a color. I want to select, use the eyedropper tool to get the exact color, which is blue. And then I'm going to go to OK. And once I'm happy with that, yeah, I think that's okay. And then to edit out of that, you have to remember to go to select and deselect, and it goes. Otherwise, you'll cut it out and it'll just be a bit of a mess. So I'm just going to drag it down here. Feel free to make it smaller. Drag it back up here. And that's it. We're going to find the little bits, make this part smaller, less boldness. I'll try and make it regular, maybe. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. And you could just start tidying up just a tiny little bit. So maybe just make sure this is perfectly centered. Where's the address pin? Make sure you use the key arrows, tidying up the tiny little bits. And that is it. And once you are done, make sure, I forgot to say as well, you have to keep saving a file, because if for some weird reason your laptop crashes, you may lose the whole file. But a lot of the times, Photoshop will save it for you as like a recovery file. So to save, you go to File and you go to Save As. Now, this is called the working document. So I don't know, you can just go to your desktop and you can save it whichever folder that you like. And you see here, you need to uh, have the file name, and you need to also have what type of file it is as well. You usually want to go to Photoshop PSD. Don't worry about this for now, because this is another technical thing I could teach you another time. But Photoshop PSD file. So again, if you want to share, if any other disciples would want to know, okay, hey bro, hey sis, I need a working file, this is what they mean. So PSD, name the file North Region Flyer, and then you go to save. You press save, and then you just press OK. You can just ignore that, and it saves that for you. Now that's a working file, but if you want it to be saved as like a distributing file, you then want to go to file again, but instead of going to save or save as, you need to go to export. Okay. Now, when you go to the export, you got the arrow here. You want to go to export as. This is where the final renders are for distribution, for it to go for printing or to share online. Now, this is where you want to start focusing a bit more. PNG is files without the background, but we are gonna need a background, of course. So you would usually go for JPEG, which stands for JPG for short. You can select the highest of quality. You could just keep it here. Of course, the higher the quality, the longer it's going to take to render. So you just want to keep it at a steady pace for now. And all these options are pretty good. These were the working files you were doing anyway. And yeah, you're good to go. You just press export, choose your location. In this case, I'm just going to go for the desktop and then save. And that is it. Done. You've got your file. Let's go look for it, which is right here. Okay, I just opened a PSD file. Let's go to the JPEG version. See, and this is the rendered file. There you go. So that is the video tutorial of how I design Kingdom Flyers. This is how I designed it for the North region of the London Church. So yes, if you have any more questions, please post in the comment section, message me separately, and yes, I'll be more than happy to help. Thank you very much for your time. Please subscribe, please share with brothers and sisters around the world, like, comment. We'd really, really appreciate your support. You are dear to me, and I want us all to crank. Thank you very much, and let's continue to create for our Lord Jesus Christ. Thank you.